Good evening. This is the February meeting of the Camera Club of Richmond. Welcome, everybody. Appreciate everybody coming out in the cold. It's not as bad as it has been, but absolutely welcome. And thanks for Paul for running it last month. He did a great job. And he said that I was in the Galapagos, and that's true. And I'm going to tell a quick story. I won't take long, but our guide in the Galapagos was an older man, and I asked him, have you lived here all your life? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you went to school? Yeah. And you grew up here? Yes. Are your parents still alive? He said, no, my mom died last year. I said, oh, sorry. He said, we tried to get her to get running water and electricity because we thought our house would be better and more comfortable, but she didn't like it because she thought the wires in the wall did something that she didn't like. I said, well, so she lived all of her life without running water and without electricity? He said, yeah. So how old was she when she passed away? 110. She lived to be 110? He said, yeah. I said, well, maybe she was right about the wires in the wall. But anyway, it was a tremendously interesting trip. And if you've not done it, it's very tremendously educational. This is the saltwater marine iguana, only place in the world that they're there, and they spit salt. And they have some gland that screens out the salt out of their body, and they spit salt. So some of them have white on their face and are very strange looking. We did a survey, as many of you know, and the question was about the banquet. And we wanted to know, and I don't know if it's still open, but for the responses, the question was, University of Richmond, tin pan, doesn't matter, etc. We had only 23 people respond, but of those that did respond, there was a strong vote for the University of Richmond over the tin pan. The tin pan was nice, but I think the group really preferred the U of R. The other thing was, what night would you prefer? The Tuesday as a regular meeting? Strong 82% wanted that. How much were you willing to spend? And the $60 maximum fee was the preference for most. Did you like the format of the presentation, the formal format? And the answer was yes. And then there's some comments that people made. If any of you didn't respond and wanted to, I'll see if we can do that. I don't know if Karen can do that from Florida, but we'll beat her up and see if we can get a few more responses. Wanted to thank Ray for last month's meeting. Paul, do you know if this is still up, the YouTube?
This is Karen, and yes, it is. It is on our YouTube channel until the end of February.
Great, thank you. Nice meeting, YouTube videos available, and if you missed it, it's worth having a look. New members as listed, and we have some guests this evening. 1, 2, 3 I know of. Yep, 4. And I would encourage the guests to apply for membership. It's not $1 million, it's $45. And there's a way to pay it online. And we'd love to have you. And if you have comments, critiques, input, we'd love to hear from you. Kemp Davis is the new digital director, and I saw him earlier. He's back in the corner. And we would emphasize that next month is the second digital evaluation with Nick Stover. Famous guy, does a very nice job. And the subject is, assigned subject is patterns. And just to let everybody know, you can enter 2 images but only one can be of the assigned subject. The other one's of your choice. Any comment, Kim? Doug is online, and I have some money for Doug, and I will mail it to him. For if there anybody here that brought checks or money, I can take it and I'll send it to Doug. Or you can use the QR code, and there are lots of ways to pay the fee there. Jane, where's Jane? Any comment on what we have here? And the same rules apply to the other assigned subjects. That is, you can put one image in under the assigned subject category, and another one can be whatever you want. Pat, I did see earlier somewhere. Pat, any comment about the exhibits that are up and running and do?
We are not hearing Martin.
Not? Is that better?
Much better, thank you.
Karen, can you hear me?
I can now. And I just wanted to remind you too, if you get questions or comments from the floor, if you could repeat those so that the Zoom folks can hear what's going on, that'd be great. But just a reminder to read Southern Exposure. There's a ton of stuff in there. And if you want to learn more about some of our members, there's a link there. There's a QR code for our spotlight videos. And if you know somebody that you want to get to know a little bit better, send me some nominations for people to spotlight. And that's my email address there, publications.ccrva@gmail.com. All right.
Great, thank you. Paul, any comment from your end? New equipment, new hookup, new AGOs to be that. Yeah, okay. Michael, I saw Michael here somewhere too. Michael, any comment? Criticisms? Michael is the print guy. And again, if you're going to bring prints, you should have the prints not framed. They should be on some sort of backing so that they have some stiffness to them and it can be held up and propped up. Terry, any comment on your end? Okay. Schedules are available, award-winning. Okay. If you wanted to know the end of the year score, your particular end of the year score, contact Terry and he'll make that available to you. Joe had a quick FYI that he wanted to share. Oh, okay.
Know me, know I'm a gadget guy. 30% of the time, it's not worth it, but most of the time it is. Godox Flash, they came out with a new one. All right. They came out with a new one called the IT32. Now, this is only 1/3 the power of the big ones, but it's certainly enough to cover this room. But I like the size of it because if you go someplace where you think you don't use a flash, you can keep it in your pocket, or you can't use a flash, you put it back in your pocket. But the neat part of this is it's under $100. And the neat part is when you take it apart, this is the flash, that's still the trigger on your camera. So you can still shoot off camera with it. And this being under 100, if you want another one for a different camera, this is only $20. So I've got two systems. I've got a Nikon and a Sony. This one's for the Sony. If I want to use it on my Nikon, I just buy another one of these. If they do this with the big flash, I think they're going to go out of business. But this is great. So it's the IT32. Godox ID32. And it will work as a receiver. If you have a different transmitter and you want to use this as a background flash or a hair light flash, you can do it with that. If you want to use this as a trigger, it'll trigger your other flashes too. So, and it does the same thing the bigger flashes do. You can bounce it off the wall. You can bounce it off the ceiling. I mean, for under $100, you can't beat this. This is like the coolest, this is the coolest thing since AI. So, all right, that's it.
He is a gadget guy, that's for sure. Oh, thank you, Joe. I got no movement here. Tonight's image evaluation, Jamie Hayes of Hayes and Fisk. Prominent local photographer, great critique person. They have been here before, both of them have been here before. And the CV is here, generational portraits, celebrations, collaboration built on trust, intention, and artistry is pretty much their theme. We've asked him to help us evaluate a series of images, and we have 87 or something similar to that this evening. So we're not going to spend 20 minutes on each one, so don't get your feelings hurt if it seems rushed. It's great to have this many images, and thank you for sending them. And it just means that the critique will be a little more brief than sometimes. But welcome, Jamie, and
thank you all so much. Can everybody hear me even online? You guys hear me, Karen? Everything good?
We can. Thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me. Sure. Bottom is the, okay, cool. So just to give you a little bit of background, my business partner Mary and I are both affiliate jurors with PPA, Professional Photographers of America, which is a program you go through. You take classes, you train, you have to enter images in competition and continually win in order to maintain that status. I spent 5 hours today judging MIR, which is their competition for Master of Photography degree, Master of Wedding Photography degree. So anything I do and evaluate, I've only done it the same way all my life. I just kind of tell you what I love about it and what I would fix if it were mine. Doesn't mean it's going to win because I've lost a whole lot of times, but I've been on the winning side more than the losing side. Hopefully you guys find that helpful. Will that be okay with you guys? Okay. For how many people are members of VPPA? Okay. Are any of the images I'm going to look at tonight, you are entering in VPPA? Okay. So if you guys, in order to keep this fair, if you guys say VPPA, I'm going to turn my back and talk to the image so I don't.
Oh, I
Not
think we
hearing
just,
sound
yeah,
or
we just,
video.
they may be,
We lost,
they may be
we
switching
lost
over
the
to the
connection,
images.
guys. We lost the connection. We're working on it.
I'll read the name of the image.
Basically, there are 12 elements that we came up with years ago to evaluate any form
Karen, Marianne, can you guys hear me?
Can hear you, Michael, yes.
There we go. So we've lost the connection on the PC. We're working on bringing it back. So apologize for that. It's been like 3 minutes of struggling so far. We're working on it.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
we could see the icon.
Okay.
We could see the screen, but we can't hear the speaker.
Yeah, we have your screen, but no
What
audio.
I've been trained to do, it doesn't mean it's right or
Yeah.
wrong. If you disagree with me, enter it anyway. I'm a big image competition person. I've been
Okay,
entering for
we have
35
both,
years
thank you.
consecutively without stop. Every year, everything I can get my hands on my and I hate to keep saying PPA, but the PPA and the VPPA level. I am co-director of the Image Competition Committee, and we run our competition for Virginia. If you ever want to look at image competitions and you really want to, because I think, here's my thought on image competition. I think it makes you a better photographer. I think every time you pick up your camera and put it to your face, if you've entered image competition and you listen to the evaluations and you try to make it better, I think it changes who you are as a photographer and lets you see things in the viewfinder that you probably didn't see until after you saw it in print, if that helps. So I'm a big fan. I think everybody should enter. I think you should always enter all the time because it just raises the level and it's super fun too, by the way. You guys ready? Okay.
Jamie, this is Karen. Let me interject very quickly. I think Jerry Posano is on Zoom, and he sent us a text that he does have some images in there. So I guess what we need to tell our digital director is if Jerry's pops up, don't mention his name. Is that what you were trying to tell us?
Who is it?
Well, we won't know his images, and that's I can't connect we can't connect the two.
Okay.
If I don't know you, it doesn't make a difference. For those of you that are VPPA, it makes a big difference because if I know the maker, I have to DQ. So the reason I don't want to know that they're your images is our image competition is 2 weeks away. And should there come a situation where somebody on the panel DQs, I'm ex facto because I'm one of the only other affiliate jurors other than Mary, we would have to step in and score the image. And I don't want to jeopardize that because y'all are good competitors, so I want y'all to win. Please don't read their name. Yes, if you can do that ahead of time, that is fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, in PPA, we're not allowed to know the name of the maker, either before or after, just to keep it neutral. So I'm not used to that part of it, but happy to adjust whatever you guys need. No problem. Oh, so here's the 12 elements. If you guys want to find these, the 12 elements of a merit image or any piece of artwork, you can find it at ppa.com. And there's all kinds of other tons of information and thousands, hundreds of thousands of videos on how to do stuff on there too. They also have a fantastic, with membership, you get $15,000 worth of camera equipment insurance free too. It's really a good deal. So any other questions before we begin? Good luck, everybody. Can't wait to see your stuff. I love image competition, so this is fun for me. Sure. Okay. Is it okay if I look at them back there? Is that okay? Okay. Fantastic image. I know this.
St. Constantine
And Helen.
Greek Orthodox Church.
Mhm.
St. Constantine and Helen Greek Orthodox Church.
Okay, we're not seeing the photos.
Beautiful. Love the composition. um, form and perfect as it would be in an interior architectural type image. All the verticals and horizontals are straight in perspective.
Thank you.
Great detail throughout, a white balance, clean. Um, I love this. I think it's really well done. What would I change or do? I'd probably take the center part of the image with Mary in that. I would take that whole image down a little bit more in contrast because the lighting in this particular church uplights there and it's stronger. And I would probably take out some of the blue hues, maybe in these, warm that up just a smidge so there's not such a stark contrast. It's true to colors that are in the church, but I think if you were to take the blue away from that side, and a little up here in the whites, see how this one's warm, that's cool. And do that and maybe bring back a little bit more detail there. Other than that, you know, you might be able to really push the structure and detail sliders on this to bring out even more, let's call it crunchiness, more detail and sharpness throughout there. It wouldn't hurt. It's a great image. I'll tell you honestly, if that were my image and I were entering, I'd do it in black and white because the patterns are really great and you wouldn't have to worry about the mixed lighting sources because that image has, since it's natural light, it has a lot of different colors of lights in it, from this color to that color, and everything in between. And I think the composition of this being so uniform on each side and masterfully done, I think black and white, you could really play with the tones, go into Lightroom, black and white, or edit black and white, photo black and white, or adjustments black and white. If you do that, then you have all the filters like you would back in the film days when you used to be able to put filters in front of your lens to change the contrast. You have all those controls in Lightroom. And that would be an amazing image because of the detail that would work fantastic. So I would say, let's go back and play with that in black and white too. And if I would probably work on a few of those areas where they're cool. Don't take all of them out because you're going to have them here because this is the original stained glass. But great architectural image. Great job.
That was by an anonymous photographer.
Good job, Anonymous. Ah,
This one is titled Ancient Temple.
beautiful. Another image that would be crazy in black and white. Look at all the texture from the grass to the stone to the sky. You know, whenever you get all this kind of clouds and stuff in the sky, that's what adds texture. Otherwise, the sky's kind of blank, right? Or soft, whispery clouds. I would probably back off on the technique a little bit. As you've selected, there's a little haloing around the image here, where there may have been a selection made to darken the sky. And the telltale sign is always that little white line. So I would probably take care of that, tone that down, or get rid of that a little bit. It also shows up here when you've got a difference in an edge contrast. You get that little white thing around. So I think taking that down would be great. I think this whole section of the image should be toned way, way down. To give more emphasis to that because they're all kind of lit the same. They have the same value of sunlight, natural light on these. I think this being darker and bringing out more of that, I think would be fantastic. Love to have seen a little bit more space here and here if there was any on the image itself. It's always a good idea if you're in a location, you look up and you go, ooh, cool sky, cool ruins, cool whatever. Always take multiple images backing up or zooming out. Because some of the best images for image competition do better if you have more area, and today's sensors are good enough. You can always crop way in and nobody's going to know the difference. But beautiful, perfect time of day, gorgeous texture, great image. I would back off on it if you can crop out. If there's more space, I think a little bit more space around would even make this more impactful. Great job.
That was by Dave Johnson. Afternoon coffee break.
Nice.
Afternoon coffee break.
Oh, I love this. Okay, more reportage-ish feel, lifestyle, great. Love the story, love the lighting. The lighting on her is fantastic because she stepped just this far out from underneath here, but you still have enough detail to keep the secondary subject. She's sharp, he's a little not, which is totally okay. Perfect point of capture where the smoke is, where her lips are, where her hand is, and it doesn't look forced or unnatural. Bonus that you didn't show the back of the hand totally flat. Gives it a little bit of curve to the side. Love the espresso on the trash can. So European, I'm guessing. This is kind of cool having the skulls down there. That's interesting. Probably if I were to make this even more amazing, I would darken this whole area here so it goes back into about this. So it disappears and she's the brightest part to pop out. So I would tone all of that down. And I'd probably go in here and clean up a few of these little spots on the trash can. But I love the grain in this. I love the high ISO that was used. I'd probably clean up the wall a little bit too, just so that there's nothing takes you away from here. This is so spectacular. Even where the secondary subject is pulling a cigarette out of his box. I mean, that's right place, right time, right second, right push of the button. Great image, great lifestyle image.
That was by Marta Namek. Or an appetizer.
Wow. Okay. Another great example of pushing the button at the shutter button at the right time. Really well done. Love the fall off on the background where the makers decided not and chose not to have anything distract from the subject. The subject's in full great bright light. I don't know if it's artificial or natural, and it doesn't matter either way. Probably would tone this down a little bit. It's just a little bright for me, especially little areas like this where you're starting to lose a little bit of highlights. Maybe tone the branch down a little bit too, so and I apologize, I will not know the names of any animals, except for dog and cat probably. So I apologize for not knowing the species. But I think toning all that down, bringing out a little bit more contrast would be great.
That was by Carol Ennis. Sweet embrace.
Oh, how beautiful. Beautiful. Again, a fantastic sky. Always is wonderful and a big help in landscape image. Love the composition. You've got third rule. Probably would tone the highlights down just a tiny bit there, just a little. I would darken all the foreground area that's hit with the sunlight just a little bit and bring out a little bit more detail here so you're kind of framing this whole scenery. Maybe bring out a little bit more contrast and detail through here. You know, now it's so easy for us to select objects in post-production software. Crop, I like the crop on all of it. I don't know, you wouldn't have to crop, but you also could lose all this detail around the edges and still have the same amount of wow. Beautiful time of day, great. You know, sometimes it's hard in landscape photography because sometimes you only get there at that time of day. Like some people plot and plan and will sit for days and weeks until they get that one image. And some of us, you know, we got to get there because the bus is going to leave. So it just kind of depends on where you are. But this is also the kind of location that if you could revisit a different time of day where the sunlight's just hitting here and this whole side of the ridge, if that's possible, would be amazing. But that's great. That's another wonderful image to play with in black and white because you have specular highlights, diffused highlights, and tons of mid-tone ranges. So you could really Ansel Adams that black and white out on that one.
That was by Jane Webb. This is Back Alley Photo Booth.
Love. Great composition. Wonderful balance between the outside light of the building and all the way back through. Not easy to do. Plus, you've kept all the detail in here. If the reflections, they've been taken out. I love the tic-tac-toe or the chalk, whatever that was. Yeah, I love that leading in. Great leading line, great composition. Love the sign up here. too. You could probably bring out a little bit more structure and texture in that. That's the kind of image that has lots of detail throughout. Love the black and white, because look now in this image in black and white, notice we see texture, right? Now we see shadows, now we see texture, now we see highlights, because our mind is always going to be biased when it comes to color. So great. If possible, and there's not a bunch of junk over here, I would love to have seen the crop give me this much space over here, if that's possible, between this window or the edge of the building. It may not be possible, as I can see the handrail, but would love to have had this much space over here, ideally, to frame it out. Great, black and white.
That was by Ann Fulcher.
Hello, Anne.
Bad hair day.
Absolutely bad hair day. So great subject matter, of course. Backlighting is beautiful through here, which gives you separation from the background. I love the makers chose not to put anything in focus in the back that's going to pull my attention away, but left the boat in there to tell me a little sense of relevance of where the location is, right? I can get that it's by water. Overall image could be cropped in different ways. It could be better, longer and skinnier, and seeing more of the top and the bottom. Overall, I would boost the contrast a little bit. And I would also boost the white point just a little bit, the white slider, and bring out more pop. If you wanted to, you could actually go in and dodge and burn certain areas. I'd always want to make sure you keep detail and highlights and shadows. Most important, any of these little things, you want to make sure they don't go pure white. If you're printing, you don't want them to go paper base white. Let them have just a little teeny bit of detail in there, just so that they don't pull your eye away, because there's not the lighting in this particular image comes from behind upper left. So this is all soft open sky that's creating this, obviously by the catch light in the eyes. So I would love to have had that kind of light punchier all over this and tone that part down. Whenever your background light or the lights coming from behind a subject are brighter than the subject's face, you always need to bring up detail in the face so that your eye doesn't look at the background but looks more at the subject.
That was by Harold Lana. Be Mine.
Okay, macro photography, I love it. My first thought of this is that I don't believe the shutter speed was high enough to freeze the action, and or the maker could have been hand holding the camera. But the relationship between the shutter speed and either the motion of the photographer and camera or motion of the subject has created a sense of motion that renders the image not sharp. And in this kind of micro photography, you've got to have something that's tack sharp. And then when it comes to the angle, would love to have seen more of that be out of the center of the flower so you could see more of his body. Unfortunately, we're looking down at this angle and it's not the prettiest. I don't even get a really good sense of wings. And when we think of bees, we think of flying, around. Lighting is kind of flat too. Also, this light is out of white balance. This is also yellow and warm, probably too much so. And this is too cool. Now, it could have been a flash that was used to do this, but I don't see any evidence of the flash in this area. So depending on where it was positioned. But what I do love is I love the texture of this background. Like that background, that location to photograph this, I wish the bee would have climbed up a little bit more. And so you could see a little bit more of its body, but sharpness is the main thing on this. So if you're hand holding, you got to make sure your shutter speed is high enough that you don't get any subject motion and or motion from the camera or photographer. I shake like crazy, so I'm always on a tripod. Seldom ever am I hand holding because that's what I get when I hand hold. So it depends on the focal length of the lens that you're using, the distance you are from the sensor to the subject, and how fast the subject's moving. As a general rule, if I were doing this, I probably would want my shutter speed upwards of 1,000, 1,500. I could care less of ISO anymore because you can go as high as you want on ISO. You can always take the noise out. So ISO is never really an issue as far as using that as a tool to crank your shutter speed really high. But I would go really high because I would want, if this bee were to all of a sudden take flight, if I were to hold down on the shutter button, I'd want to capture every single still part of that wingspan, anticipating that might be the case. But I'm always, if I know I want to stop action, I'm usually never less than 1500. But if I were on a long lens or a macro lens, and I don't do a lot of macro photography, so I don't know this for a fact, but if I were in the longer the lens and the further you are away, the higher your shutter speed needs to be. I think the rule is 3 times your focal length, and I could totally be wrong on that. I'm sure you can AI look it up. But I would go really high, and don't be afraid to go high. You can go 8, 9, 10,000. I mean, really go up there as long as your exposure's right. Go for it. But the color palette in this particular flower, I would be going back to photograph that location all the time if bees are attracted there. But I love this. I love this swoosh in the background. Really pretty.
That was by John Schickler. This is Between Tides.
Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Okay, so my first thought is the image looks a little low resolution, and or some sort of technique has kind of posterized, and maybe that was the maker's intent to do that. Again, we have lines where some bringing the sky down or something, or masking has been done. I have a white line. It could also be low resolution and sharpening issues too, the way the image is sharpened. I love this leading up here though. Gosh, my eye just comes all the way up through the shadows. Wish there were detail throughout all this. And that looks to be like an overcast day, so there shouldn't be any reason why that wouldn't have all of that detail. So I don't know if that's been pushed in post-processing. I don't know if this is a cloud, a cloud here, or where his hand just happens to be, or if that was burned down. If so, I wouldn't do the under part of the arm. The upper part's fine. And I'm assuming there was burning done because see how the landscape goes from this density to this density? Would want to see that a little bit more uniform. Love the composition though. Could also use just a little bit more space, maybe an inch or 2 at the top. But other than that, the composition is what makes this sing. And I love the story of the kids too. Great job.
That was by Marianne Barnhart. This is Birds and Brushstrokes in Fog.
My God, slam dunk. Okay, love this. The mystery of not knowing where the water begins and the reflection ends is crazy. Love this, amazing. I would boost contrast a little bit. This could be color or black and white, doesn't matter. Love the birds. There's detail throughout. Just make sure, bring back a little bit more detail in if you can. Don't bring any detail back that shows the difference between the reflection and above the water. Because the mystery of that I think is really cool. If there's any more space around this, I'd probably back out just a teeny bit more too. And if you have a second exposure where this bird is looking my way, you'd have all 4 birds, these 2 looking and those 2 looking. I don't know, are you allowed to copy and paste and use different images to put together? To a point? Like, if I had another image that was taken right after this where those birds flew away, but this guy was looking that way, could I put that? Okay, then in the creative category, I would do that. That's something that I would do because I think that tells a story really amazing with what are the chances that they're having a conversation? You captured that, right? But that's what I would do if I were entering image competition because that's a really good image.
That was
Hey,
by, oops, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to tell you who it was.
Sure.
That was Michael Orr.
I love that.
Block That Pass.
Okay, awesome. I am not a sports ball person. However, my best friend, one of my best friends, is the #1 sports photographer in all the world. He shoots. Was on the front cover of everything you can imagine whenever you pick it up, and he does all the Topps sports cards for all the sports. Great moment. I mean, quarterback throwing football. Look at this arch. What I really love about this is that you can see all the players. Nobody's kind of really overlapping anyone, right? You can see as much as you kind of want to see. No one's kind of like blocking anybody. Great action. Probably would take the whole image down a little bit and make this and this the brightest part. Try to bring back some more detail in here, but if you were to bring this player out by increasing the exposure and that, making everything else go dark a little bit, it focuses you in on that, that part of the image. If there's more space around it, I would go a little bit more space. If not, it's perfectly photographed edge to edge and around. I love how you've got these stops. Stop here and stop here so my eye doesn't go off the edge. This would also be fantastic in black and white. You could really do crunchy with it. Maybe darken the whole bottom grass area or turf, and probably darken all of that. If you might want to clean up the white balance a little bit. There's cyan blue in all the shadow areas of the whites. I would go in and probably take that down a little bit so you don't get that shadow blue, purpley, magenta feel to it. Great point of capture though. Post in this would take this image over the top. Amazing. Also on this, again, if I were shooting this, I would probably go for a higher depth of field and a higher shutter speed so you don't get these blurred guys, and really freeze the action of all of it. But great. I mean, right place, right time.
That was taken by a masked photographer.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
This one is Bonnie and Clyde, Richmond Zombie Walk.
Love it. Okay. Love the stylizing of the outfits, the right models, right mood. The makeup is done really well. It looks kind of 3D and real. Probably would back off on this edge border a little bit and play around with a couple others. This one, I know that you guys are allowed presentation. I would take the presentation more into texture and gory or ripped or something tying in with this. Also could be a great image in black and white and just let the blood be red, like color it and leave it in there. I'd probably get rid of this because my eye goes up into that corner. See now that once I point it out, it's kind of hard not to see it. Maybe leave a little bit more space all the way around too, but their costuming and the subjects are really great. My vanity says, ooh, get rid of his double chin and tighten that in a little bit. That is so easy to do in a photo. It'll take 3 seconds with the slider and would clean all that up and look really good. Have you guys used Evoto AI retouching software? Oh my God. All of you need to go right now to home tonight, get lost for about 3 hours on a website called Evoto, E-V-O-T-O. It is world-changing in photography. I can't understand. I couldn't live without it. Couldn't. Yes, as long as you don't use AI that uses a prompt. You can use generative fill, and you can use programs like Evoto. Yep. Evoto, E-V-O-T-O. It's amazing, and they have different modules. It's culling software, it's removal software, skin software. It does a lot of things, a lot of really good things. If you enter image competition, it saves you hours upon hours upon hours of time. I love the mood and feeling of this, though. Really cool. You know, this could be cool doing it in a really awesome sepia tone. Like, make it really look vintage. Like, add even like maybe a overlay that looks like cracked old photo or something over top of it. This is the kind of image that I think having that old sepia feel to it would further enhance the mood and feeling based on the clothing and the styling of the subject. Great image.
This one was by Joe Ring, Bottoms Up.
That's great. Okay, so really perfect capture. Have a concern if this part's in focus or not. I know that's in focus. Whenever you're photographing wildlife, as a general rule, if you're photographing wide open, you got to be really careful, because not only is the point at which you place your focus box important, but anything that's in front of that box or behind that box is important, because that determines what's in focus or not. I can't tell because this is a projective screen if they're really sharp. If they're sharp, fantastic. If not, try to go in and sharpen up at least the face and the eyes a little bit. I think this is a great image for black and white too. Again, darken so you keep details in the highlights. There's plenty of details in the shadows, but I think darkening or adding more contrast to this overall image is great. And if it were me, I would crop this about right here. So the ducks are the main focus and you get reflection ripples, reflection ripples. I think all of this is pulling my eye away from here. It's almost like it's two photos, a photo of here and a photo here. I'd get rid of all of that, cropping in here, and maybe even cropping right here so that you have more space down here in the reflections, which draws emphasis to them. I think would be pretty cool. If there's more space, that is a long skinny too, because look how pretty these ripples go. Would like to see a few more ripples come this way and that way maybe. But I think that could be a really cool image. Definitely have to tone this down though, because this is the brightest part and I can't stop looking at that, you know.
That was by Rebecca Perry. Brilliant Blossom.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. All right, crop here, get rid of that corner. Crop here, get rid of that corner. You don't need them. And that makes your eye go right into here. Bring out structure and texture. Clean up all these little teeny spots. I would go in and selectively bring out this to be the brightest part and subdue those so it looks like the light's coming from the inside of the flower out. So I would tone these kind of highlight areas down and through here. Always a good idea, sidebar, always a good idea if you're photographing to bracket your exposures whenever you photograph and you think that your subject matter is image competition worthy. That way you can tone these highlights down and bring out detail here without loss by overlapping the images, or focus stacking too, if that's allowed. Get rid of this little piece right here once you crop because my eye goes off to there. I might even, you know, I think if you come in here and crop, here and crop, here and crop that out. Now that I look at it, if I get rid of all of these little things, look how pretty the edges are. Now I go to the edge and it's gorgeous and I keep coming back into here. I'd probably fix that little broken piece there. I probably clone this a little bit more red to match that so it's not a light trap because my eye goes to that light area around that. And that can be an amazing image. That's beautiful. Bring out, it needs to be sharpened more and bring out more texture, but pretty. See how really all the highlights are right here, right? Make them here and tone those down so my eye goes into there. Beautiful study of texture and color. That's the start of a great image.
That was by Kat Mintz. This is Brothers in Arms.
Great title for that. I love the feel of it. It feels very vintage. I don't know if this is reenacted or if this were actually taken in a different time period, nor does that matter. Certainly feels like it is. I love that they're in sunlight. I kind of love the guy's eyes being blocked a little bit. Adds a little bit of realism to the whole thing. Probably would crop a little bit more here on this side, just so it's a little bit more even all the way around. And probably would play around with maybe lightening these areas that were taken down a lot. Here again, we're starting to get that line. That could be brought up a little bit more. It's got great contrast in the image. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something I feel that needs to be adjusted in it. Like it's either too crunchy or that part of the process has been brought down too much or hasn't been brought enough. Probably need to tone him down a little bit as he's brighter than everybody else. I love the background and the props and everything. If this was taken real time, it totally makes sense. If it were today to look like then, job well done.
That was by Michael Bryant. This is Collective Canvas.
Nice. All right, I have two thoughts. One would be so cool to make everything except for the log black and white and leave all that in color. What a contrast in a storyline, the storytelling of the image would be kind of really cool too. I would probably tone down these areas that are real bright so that my eye doesn't go off to that end. If there's more space and more log and more whatever here, this would be great as a long, skinny panorama, providing this kind of remains the same as it goes on both sides. It's a little cropped in. This would be really cool having a little bit more space all the way around. So if there is more space here, I'd highly recommend adding, as long as you don't have anything that's going to pull your attention away. Great time of day to photograph this, because look at how you have all the detail in all the shadow areas too. I love all the different colors. How cool.
That was by Pat Davis. Colorful Pump House.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Probably will play around with the contrast a little bit, because this is created at a time in which there is really no light on the pump house whatsoever, right? The light's back here. So I would try to bring out the light in here more. Would probably take this into Lightroom 2 and under perspective. I would try to kind of change the perspective a little bit, try auto and full, just to try to change the distortion a little bit. I kind of want to tip the top of the image here and straighten these kind of lines up a little bit, bring out a little bit more contrast. I don't know if the maker's intent was for all of this to go or be pastel. I kind of like that it's cool, like, right, the white balance isn't the white balance of the sunlight that's back here. So I'd kind of play around with that a little bit. Main thing is change that perspective though a little bit, I think. So this maybe was photographed with a little bit wider lens, because probably couldn't back up further than, but so far, because of something else in the way. I love how you frame the pump house within the opening in the sky. Really well done. This one you could do some really creative filtery like things and try different pastels and different filters over top, because the image already has that milky, that cool blue tint to it and feel. So I think you could enhance and go with that a little bit more too. Perspective is the main thing that would I think make a big difference in this image overall.
That was by Dave Johnson. Coastal Lookout.
Wow, beautiful. Gosh, it reminds me of Ireland. Was it Ireland? Oh, cool. So I would probably, I love the saturation of the greens. This is probably a little bit too bright for me. Would love for this to be the brightest green. This would be the second brightest. So my eye, although I'd see everything here, it would frame it, and my eye would go here first.
Как ты сразу на грин уходит и...
Да, вот она
Love all the detail in the back.
Can you please mute your mics, everybody? Please
think
mute.
this-
Thank you.
I think this could also be, I'd love to see a little bit more what's that way. So if this is full frame, great. If not, would love to have seen about this much more of that image in the ocean. I think would be fantastic. I love the color in here. Probably would play around with contrast a little bit, because, and I don't know if the shadows were opened up on this or you mess with the shadow sliders at all, but it almost feels kind of flat, like this tonality, this tonality, this tonality, this tonality, even back to here and even to that corner, all kind of feels the same. I think you could play with contrasts and textures on each level to build depth into it, because there's a lot of greatness going on, a lot of different textures in this whole image. Lighting is kind of really interesting too, since it's, the light that's in between all of those clouds. And again, another one of those really cool, beautiful skies.
This was by Martin Evans, and we're about a quarter of the way through.
Okay.
And
Can we
it's-
speed it up?
and Yeah.
Yeah.
You're doing
Okay.
a great job, though.
Love this image, but it's out of focus. So can't even begin to wish it were sharp and in focus, because that would be pretty amazing. Again, this would be one where you could crop really skinny. It would be great. Love the composition of the bottom part. Just wish it were in focus.
This is Dawn of the Greenskeeper by Ted Dracuta. This is Daydreaming.
Beautiful. Probably would do a little retouching to the skin and clean the skin up a little bit. All the brightness, this is all really bright. So I would tone all this down so that my brightness is all right through there. Work up the detail in the eyes a little bit. Tone down the forehead a little so that this mask of the face is the brightest area. Great character study of that woman.
That was by Eric Franks. Day Worker, Kolkata.
Another image that would be great in black and white too, but if you kept it in color, probably would remove this. Again, the light is brighter here and not as much on his face, so I would tone that down, bring out some more detail in his face. It works in color. I'm really distracted by this though. Look how much stronger it is if you just get rid of that, because now I look more at him. Probably would tone those areas down a little bit. Great subject matter though.
That was by Jean Boyd. Dutch Gap View.
Wonderful. I love the sunlight just hitting those trees in the background. Play around with contrast. It feels a little flat. I would build up highlights and bring out some more detail in this area, and a little bit more contrast, I think, would greatly help this. This could be a great black and white image too.
That was by Susan Kennedy. Eluding the Tacklers.
Awesome point of capture. Would love to have seen more space at the top. If there's more top, he's a little too close. And a little bit more space here because he's running in this direction. Always like to see more space in front of a moving subject more than behind as a general rule. Whole composition's kind of tight. However, what I do love is the interaction of this circle. Bring back detail in here, bring that detail out a little bit more contrast, a little bit more noise and structure. And that image would be amazing. Also another great image in black and white.
That was by Ling Whitworth. Embracing the Chill.
Beautiful. It's nice to see real snow and not a filter added. The whole over image is contrasting. Bring back detail in all the highlights here because we're losing them. Punch up the white balance and the detail of all of the highlights here and work on detail in the eyes. Maybe remove that little snowflake right there. Beautiful.
That was by Cindy Walker. Enchantment Within.
Don't change a thing. Amazing, great, awesome, yay, love it. Have no suggestions.
Tony Johnson.
Love the color, love the movement, the slow shutter speed, the deliberate shake. Was all done right place, right time. Love the highlights that dance through here. Maybe tone that down a little bit if I really want to get a nitpicky on it, but leave well enough alone. Beautiful, amazing, awesome, great.
That was by Jane Webb. That was not. That was by Tony Johnson. I apologize. Eilers Valley Chapel.
Beautiful. If there's more space, I would back out a little bit more. Tone the whole image down through here. Background is beautiful. Maybe add a little bit more contrast. This whole area needs to be toned down to get detail in these highlights. Easy to do. And other than that, great. If there's no more space, exactly like you've cropped that tree. So it frames it evenly on the sides. And I would probably change, it feels like the whole thing is tilting to the right a little bit. Again, you can go in Lightroom and use that perspective control and one click and fix that.
That was by Jane Webb. Fall at Oxbow Bend.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. If there's more space at the top, would like to see just a little bit more at the top. Sensor spots, I would probably take those out. I'd probably take out this and this. I like the crop. I don't mind that and that. This kind of bothers me just a little teeny bit, but gosh, you got the ducks in the front, so that's really kind of cool. Maybe tone those down a little bit. Make sure you have detail in those. Make sure you have detail in through here too. Saturation's pretty. May back off on the saturation a little bit. Build a little bit more contrast in the mountains in the back. Beautiful.
Can I say who this was?
No.
Okie dokie. Fascinated.
Oh God, I remember my godson having that hair. Cute, adorable. I would convert it to black and white first thing. This color is not a really pleasing color to the human species. We see this color as not a positive emotional thing. So I think black and white or sepia or something like that would be pretty cool. Take out this gap sticker. clean up this a little bit. Yeah. Um, and maybe fix some of the spots from the glass. If there's more space, I'd love to have a little bit more space over here. You don't need more space over there. Also, I think you could crop this whole image right here too. And that eliminates this light trap down here. And it won't take away from the image at all. Cute. Try to bring more detail out in the hair if you can. You may not be able to, but if you can bring detail back in there. Also, when you do these in black and white and you do that sort of stuff, it really takes it over the top. If this were my image, I would also remove all the wrinkles if that's allowed in the shirt.
That was an unknown photographer. Final turn.
Wow, cool. Again, would love to see more space around the whole entire thing. Probably tone highlights down a little bit, maybe tone this down a little bit. So this is, again, my eyes brighter here, or at least make this in that tonality so my eye doesn't go down to it. Yeah, that's all I could say on that. That could be an amazing black and white image too, because you can go into that and use all those different colors and mess around with the contrasts of those. I think would be pretty cool. Wish I saw 1 second after they made that turn, 1 second more, and I would have seen more of the riders and the sides of the horses.
That was by John Schickler. Fog brings caution in the night.
Okay, so I probably would tone all of these areas down. All of those are in the fences, all that's brighter than what's really going on, which is here. I kind of want to get into the race, and it's more kind of on, you know, all those structures.
That was by Kemp Davis. Foggy finish.
Great image. If there's more space at the top, I'd crop here and crop this out. And use that because my eye's drawn to all this color and pattern, and everything up here, it's either red, black, or white. So I would kind of crop through there. Could be an amazing black and white image. Bring out more detail in the shadows, more punch of light to the face. And if there's more space at the top, I would kind of do that. Great capture.
That was by Kemp Davis also. And I want to back up just real quickly. Eilers Valley Chapel, Fall at Oxbow and Fascinated, the little kid with the penguin. Both of those were Carol Hageman. I didn't say her name because I thought she was in PPA.
Sure. Cute. Adorable subject.
Yeah. This is Following the Trail.
God, that's beautiful. Wow. I would go in and use that perspective control again, and all of these will straighten up. If there's more space, I would go wider with this. This is always a difficult thing because the image is a gazillion times better if you just didn't have this in there. Because now you see all the backlighting. It's almost impossible to get detail when you have that kind of specular. And the sunbursts are either perfect sunburst stars, or you get defragmented ones like that. I think the image would be a much more amazing image and pretty wow, honestly, by taking that out or seeing if there's another image that you took where this was hidden more, and bring back detail in all those dark, the shadow areas.
That was by Tony Johnson. Framed in Color.
Beautiful. Another image I think that would be great in black and white too, because you can play such great contrast. And just so you know, you can do this with color, but the problem with color is you run out of gamut on the color. You don't run out of gamut in the black and white. That's why you'll hear me talk a lot, especially images that have lots of texture and good side or backlighting. And that's why, because I know that if you try to do that in color, these will scream in craziness. Beautiful sky. For some reason, I kind of almost think this is the image. That tree kind of pulls my eye away, but I don't know how to crop it because you could come here or maybe through here. Oh, that'll work. You can come through here, go up that little tree, come up to here, come across here. And you don't even losing that part of the image, I don't think will matter. But my eye wants to look at this, and this is what I love about this. Always have loved about that location, that bridge too.
That was by Parks Roundtree. Framed in winter.
Yes, it is. Just take the density and the contrast, a little more contrast, take the density down a little bit, go in and make these bluey colors white. Take out the cyan blue from the overhead light, because you've got warm light coming in here from, I'm assuming, a strobe and or sunlight that just seems to be hitting here. Tone everything down a little bit. I love the framing. Probably could even cut this about right here. And you could lose all of this, because if you crop kind of in here, now you've created a circle that you've completed over there. Fun. That could be a fun image to work on.
That was by Cindy Walker. Frozen Passage.
Crop here. Crop all of this out of the bottom to there. Probably would do it in black and white, because there's really the only thing in this image is just contrast. Now, I love the texture. The differences between the old rail station and bridge and the city in the background would beef up contrast, keep detail, bring out a little bit more detail and shadows and highlights. Kind of love the plane going by in the upper left corner, but I don't think you need all this down here to tell that story. But I would not do this image in color. I would highly recommend doing that image in black and white.
That was by Kiri Gottlieb. Grasshopper chilling on the gourd flower.
So my first thing is, again, sharpness. It doesn't appear to be sharp. I don't know if the focus point is on the flower itself and not maybe on the grasshopper, but also although I love the raindrops on the flower itself, it's made highlights and specularity more on the flower than on the grasshopper. First and foremost, it's got to be sharp. It's got to have detail enough to see it. So that's the first number one. But had this been really sharp, then I would have made sure that the grasshopper stood out brighter and the flower went darker in the background.
That was by Kat Mintz. Gray-crowned crane.
Oh, beautiful. Ooh. I don't know that I would do a whole lot to this. Maybe tone this down a little bit. Bring your detail back in here, because contrast may have been pushed a little bit, because there should be plenty of detail in there. Tone that down so you don't go really hot on that, or maybe even crop it out. You know what? Interesting, beautiful pose of the body. Different. Normally we'd see things from the side. Probably would crop out this little piece here too.
That was by Ed Hageman. Griffith Arches.
Cool. I love so much about this. Bring back just a little bit of texture in the highlights, not much. Probably, again, would use perspective control. So because I'm assuming you're photographing like this. So that perspective control will make it look like you were standing like this. And I would probably, once you do that, I would probably crop here. I don't think I like the sky because I don't see enough of the building, but I love this detail. Once you correct that distortion and the repeated detail, if that were to line up at the top and everything were to become, more vertically stable, horizontally and vertically. If there's more of this down here included, if not, if it's people and you had to do that, that's what I would do on that. Great graphic study. But I think all the energy of this image is here. I don't think I need all of this.
That was by Paul Bickford.
Oh my God.
He dreams of soaring.
I love this. Wow, what an out of the box angle. The joy on this subject's face is incredible. Again, see this line all the way around? I would get rid of that. That's just where either this has been brought down or brought up. If there's more space, I wouldn't crop into the tail because that's a very important secondary subject, all that lining up. Hate that he has that on. If it's allowed and legal, I'd remove that. because then you don't know what he's wearing, right? And then remove this. But oh my gosh, I love this image out of the box. Would be great in black and white too. Look at the sky. The sky is almost an image all in itself, regardless of subject, but he makes it slam dunk. And normally I wouldn't love the hand being open to the camera, but golly, is that fantastic.
That was by Susan Van Manen. Heartbreak.
Again, I'd probably use a perspective control because it feels like the chair's tipping this way. If there's more space all the way around before you crop anything, I would go back and fix that perspective control so that the chair lines up more kind of even, and so it's not look like it's tilting that way. Boost up the contrast a whole bunch, and make sure you keep details in the dark areas of the mulch.
That was Gary Kornfeld. I wanted ice cream.
Love. If there's more space at the top, give her a little bit more space at the top. Probably could crop in a little closer on this side, as you don't need it. Don't crop into this or leave that edge there. Maybe get rid of that. Bring up detail in her face and eyes because, again, natural light, and the light is actually hitting here and here, not on her. So I would have to tone those down so they don't bloom. And I'm assuming those are white. So again, I would go in and take out that cyan blue color. But I think the overall image needs to be warmed a little bit. Totally could do this in black and white because you've got so much going on between the pattern of her outfit and all those colors. The real essence is in her face. That's where the story is.
That was by Michael Bryant. Journey.
Oh, okay. So I have two thoughts on this. I love this just as the image all by itself. Don't necessarily need this. I get the path, but I kind of, it kind of stops here and then you go to this amazing thing. So I almost think cropping that path out, change the title, bring the whole image down in exposure and add more contrast, leave this beautiful kiss of light right in the middle. I think the road if the road were winding and you could see the road and the road went all the way up to here, I'd probably be all about it. But my gosh, the magnificent light on that, that could be a big time winner. If there's more space here and that other mountain goes like this on the backside, I would leave that in too.
That was by Bruce Yoder. La Dama, the Lady.
Love it. Love the stylizing, love her mood and expression. Retouch her face. Again, there's natural light. This is way brighter. Tone that down so her face is the brightest. I'm not a big fan of the vignette. I would lose that because there's so much great detail around there. I kind of don't want it to be blurred. If you wanted to make it more vintage, you could add a texture screen or something else to give it that grainy, textury look. It's not quite black and white. It's not quite color. I kind of love that. But my eye goes immediately to here, and I want it to go here. I'd retouch her skin under her eyes, clean her skin up a little bit too, and bring out more punch in her eyes. Let her face be the dominant part of the image.
That was by Michael Orr. Llewellyn Setters.
Fantastic. Again, detail and highlights. So these are all blown out. So I need to tone those down without losing in the face. Really wish the four-wheeler thing wasn't in the background because I love the dogs and I love what's going on there, but the position of where that thing is really, it fights with them. I wish they didn't have the collars on. Is it legal for you guys to remove collars in your pet photos? Oh, so Evoto has a new thing called collar removal. I have not used it. It's just a brand new feature. I just read about it yesterday, and I'm like, and they have enhancement for animals' eyes too with sliders, and that are amazing. And this would be a fun image to try that on. That's for sure. That
was by Ted Jerkuta. Lonely in Orange.
Wow, slam dunk. Wow. I'm not saying there is, but just double check the line around here. This is a type of image that could use an amazing double matte in orange with a blue pinstripe in it. would be amazing to repeat that color because it's almost monochromatic. You know, warm against cool, yellow, blue. Composition's amazing and strong. This is the kind of image that is clean and beautiful just as it is. I don't think anything needs to be done to it. If it were longer and skinnier, because I know this location, if it's longer and skinnier, I'd do that too. But I think an amazing presentation could take this over the top. Great job.
That was by Evstathios Spinos. Main event.
Beautiful. I would back off on the technique. It feels a little overall like something's been pushed. I'm losing detail in all of these highlights. So bring those back in. Cropping, leave me a little bit more so I see all of his whiskers and mane and that ear if possible. I'd work up the eye detail a little bit. I'd probably take out this little hair right there in the eye. Great image. Now, if you can't, if that image was photographed overexposed and this was a Hail Mary Save Me sliders situation, I would convert it to black and white and you'll get rid of some of those things. But I think the white balance in this cyan blue needs to come out of all of that. It doesn't work with the blue in the light with the warmth. I think you'd be better off to keep this all warmer tone.
That was by Shashi Air. Marine iguana.
Wow, great image for texture. I would do this in black and white. Again, I would bring out all kinds of texture and bring out structure, noise. I would bring out texture and structure, maybe a little dehaze to really make that pop. Do it in black and white because all of these color patches now again become contrast points. And boy, would this be a fun image to do that on. Tone this down a little bit. Probably crop this out about right there. Great image. The expression on that, I would tie the title in to make it something really funny.
That was by Martin Evans. Matterhorn.
Beautiful, great graphic image. Whole thing needs to be taken down a little bit. It's too, to me, it's a little too bright and lacks a little bit of contrast for the amount of texture that's in this image. So do that a little bit. Probably would crop this out, crop it here. Let me see. Crop it here and then appropriately on the side so that peak hits dead center. Another image that would be great, black and white, because you could make, in black and white, you can make that sky go really dark. Like if you notice Ansel Adams' work, if you've studied his work, how his skies were almost always black, and they made the texture and the mountain stand up. You could do this in black and white and take it in that direction, because I think the lighting in it and the texture would be suitable, well suited for that.
That was by Terry Troxel. Milky Way Moonscape.
Oh my God. Don't change a thing. Although I think you could really up the presentation. What a phenomenal image. Crazy good. I think this is just amazing. Detail and shadows, detail and highlights. Sometimes when you're doing astrophotography, you never know what you're going to get here. Because sometimes it's overexposed, sometimes underexposed, but this is perfect. I think this image, because it's so phenomenal, I would beef up the presentation and maybe put like a drop shadow and a matte, like a bevel matte on it to take the presentation. This image is so amazing. I think you could beef the presentation up a little bit and give it a little bit more but I wouldn't change a thing. Amazing.
That was by Ann Fulcher.
Of course it was. I could have told you that.
Miss Songbird.
Love, 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 period. I'm stuck on House of Guinness, Bridgerton, and Lady Charlotte, and what's the other one? Gilded Age, all at one time. They're all flowing through here. Love all of this. I would take it to black and white. I would do it in sepia tone. The technique that's been applied, I love. I would just back out on it a little bit, make her face brighter, tone all of these down, leave a little bit more framing around that, do a like museum matte quality around it. If you can make this long and skinny and give more space to it, even where you show the top of the door frame, if that's possible, great. If not, if this is I don't think this is true capture because the proportion doesn't look right to me, but could be. But notice how all the light's really down here and not up here. Reverse it. Make this as bright and as punchy as this. The whole over thing is too bright because her face is darker than my eye goes to the light parts, but all of those things are fixable. I love her attitude, her stylizing, the mood and feel of it, and how timely, because all of a lot of people are watching these series now on TV as they're very popular.
That was by Joe Ring. Moment of Shy.
Beautiful. If there's more space, I think this would be a long skinny. Leaving more space out here would be phenomenal. I would play with the white balance. It's too cool on them. I would change the gray matte around it too, because it feels like it's a little purpley. I love the motion that's been done in the background. Absolutely fantastic. Could be amazing in black and white too. You're going to have to desaturate that green grass because it's way more strong than the actual deer themselves. And I would just make sure that they are brighter, pull up the white points a little bit, but also make sure you keep detail in those. Interesting. Love the background.
That was by Saro. Morning Snack.
Cute. Tone down the highlights in the background so they're not so bright, so that this is bright. Beautiful light, natural light hitting this. So I would punch this the diffused highlight on this side up a whole bunch. I don't know about cropping. I guess I could kind of leave it the way it is. Probably could crop right here. Probably could get rid of this because my eye's drawn down here. I've got it up here, but that's not too bad because it's the same color as the bird, so it gives me a point of reference, and I got a little bit of that color there too. But bring out more detail in the bird and tone the highlights down in the snow. Great angle, cool capture.
That was by Heidi Nunnally. Not So Lucky.
Oh, great, another great sports shot. Y'all are really good at sports ball. Probably would desaturate. The colors are just so oversaturated. I think this in black and white would be so much better because you'd see only texture. Again, you can play with those filters and things. I would make add more structure and texture and bring out the guys a little bit more. I'm hoping they're in focus. It looks to me like the focus point was here, and he kind of falls a little bit behind, and he's your main subject. Well, he's actually secondary subject, but because he's wearing light color against a group of people that are not wearing the lightest color, my eye goes to him and he's not in focus. So I would do that in black and white and try to bring out some more texture and selective sharpening, especially tone these down. Ooh. And some orange shoes.
That was an anonymous photographer. Opposable thumbs are overrated.
Love this capture, except for the focal point is here and not here. So unfortunately, the eyes of the bird and the whole beak, all of this either has subject motion or it's photographed out of the depth of focus, and really wish that we're in. I love this little kiss of light here and here and here. Bring detail back in there, but I gotta have an eye. When you're doing this kind of work, man, the eye's got to be tack sharp. And unfortunately, I think it's the wing.
That was by Karen Davis. Oxbow Bend.
Ooh, okay. Somebody playing with creativity. I love it. So, kind of like that it's kind of this eerie, spacey kind of feel, or another planet kind of feel. However, I think as a regular image, it's way more amazing than that. So I would go back, if you have masked everything except for the mountain and the reflection, I would go back and reverse that, bring this back up to normal levels, desaturate the yellow all the way around, bring out contrast and structure through here, providing this image is sharp. Get rid of where the masking has been done, because I can see it around all of the edges of all of that and the edges of here. If this is tack sharp, you don't really need a little bit more space all the way around, but if you do, that's great. Probably crop it about right here. I think you're far better off to reverse this and make it a really fantastic color image or black and white image without going on the saturation or going down this path, because the image is that good. You don't really need to do all of that when the capture is really, really good. You just need to finish it really, really well. Great image.
That was by Ed Hageman. Paris Chic.
Cute. So there's no light on her face. Again, here, this is all natural light, so she's not facing into the light. Preferably, if you're going to do street photography, take the picture from the other side. so that the light that's here is actually putting light on her face, and then rearrange the composition to make it work instead of taking the picture as it was when it's there. Ask her to turn around and find the light that's on her face. Because the light on everything else is really great, but her face is all in shadow. Her eyes are dark. There's no detail here, bless you. And there's no detail in here. Convert this to black and white, clean up the face. If you can bring this out and tone everything else down and keep detail in there, and then take it into more of like a vintage feel based on the hat, you might be able to salvage that.
That was by Jay Denny. Peace offering.
To me, this is the image, secondary image. I like this part of the image. I'm not too crazy about this part of the image. And so to try to, because I think those two, I get the piece, I get the flag and all that sort in there, but unfortunately it's blown out and kind of pulls my eye away. And I get that in this, right? I get the piece in this. This bothers me greatly to have that in. Wish he just didn't have it in his hand, because the story is all here. Again, the sunlight is not really on him. Wish it were on his face. Wished he was facing the other direction. But I would go in and tone this down a little bit and bring up the detail in the shadows. Somewhere cropping selectively, maybe even do a circle to match the circle, circle eyes, circle head. Might get rid of that, because I get the piece thing.
That was by Paul Bickford. Peaks of Otter.
For this particular image, I would crop up a little here, crop about right here. Work on the contrast a little bit more to bring out a little bit more contrast in the overall image. Pop the whites a little bit so you get a little bit more, or go back in and hand burn in or hand dodge all of the ridges so that, look, you see you have all these lines in the image. Once I start pulling them out, look at the lines, look at the lines, look at the lines. All these lines that go up, and look, you have ridge, 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 line, line, line. Bring those lines out, because that's what makes this part of the mountains look so beautiful.
That was by Saro. Personal choice.
Fabulous. Don't change a thing. God, that hurts. That makes me question my next one. I love it. If it were me and this were my image, I would do it in black and white, because the color bothers me in all of it. The blue gloves bother me. The red in the back bothers me. And he's so great. Turn all that to black and white, and that's pretty stinking amazing. May want to go in and do that perspective control again. If there's more space all the way around, I'd leave it a little bit more space so his feet are in here. Your camera angle, since you're coming in at this direction, his feet are a little bit higher. Tone down those highlights a little bit. But wow, great image.
There was an unknown photographer.
That's great.
Pheasant stare.
Cute. To do it in black and white. Tone this down. Bring this up. And then I would probably try to make that line more straight in the back. See how it's tilting to one side? And if you can do all of that, great image. I love the shallow depth of field. It really works with this pose in the head. Very out of the box, very impactful, because it's different than what you would normally most see.
That was by Kurt Engelman. Playing in the band.
Great street image. Probably would include, I see there's a little something here, and that's probably why it was cropped that way. Wish there were a little bit more space down there, though. Probably would convert that to black and white or sepia or something too, because the colors are pulling my eye away from what's really going on, which is them playing. Also would, again, just like when it come down, just like the bees and the insects, shutter speed is everything to stop motion. If you're going to lean into motion like that and you want motion, then add motion, drag the shutter, and let's really go far for it. I wish the van, wish you'd have waited a second and that were not in the background. I don't mind the reflections of everything else because it sets the scene, but the white van in the back really pulls my attention away from everybody else. And again, natural light, so where's the light hitting? It's all hitting here. not here. I always want, if I can see a face, I want to see the face. Doesn't matter as much on him because I don't see much of his face, and his hat's kind of the story. But boy, in these type of images, if there's a human face, and you want the story to be about the humans and what they're doing, I would always put light on their face, even if natural light doesn't allow it.
That was by Jay Denny. Pollinator's Pause.
Wrong angle for me. Again, a bee, I want to see more of the side or the back or the wings or maybe a drone view down on top. I'm losing all the detail in through here too. It's all black and everything is pulling my eye away. And I've got this big pattern going on. I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. My eyes bouncing all around. I don't know where to land. If you have other images where that bee is to the side, or next time when you're photographing this, step to the side and photograph that insect from different angles. Your side angle of a bee or the top view down with wings out is always the most beautiful part because of the way their bodies are structured. They're in like little bubbles.
That was an anonymous. This is Presence in Green.
Wow. Okay. Probably crop in. So you crop that out. Crop in a little bit more so that this is more in the bottom third. Because I don't need all the green around it. It's pretty cool the way it is. Probably would enhance the lighting, contrast or structure more so this pops more than all of that. Again, would be an amazing black and white kind of image too, because again, you have texture and shades of green, so boy, could you contrast that one out.
That was by Carrie Gottlieb. Returning from the Fields.
Love. Back off on the contrast, the saturation. It's way too oversaturated. I don't know if I'm assuming that they've been selected and saturation been done to them because of the difference between in through here, but maybe not. I would love to see a little bit more space all the way around it. To me, the color overpowers it. I love that they're all in red. Wish the lady in red were in the middle of the two blues. But you can't wish for everything, right? Right now, I love the contrast of them. I'm having an issue with the weakness of the background. It looks less contrasty, and there's something going on right here. It's dark. Don't know what that is. If there's more space all the way around this, I would kind of back off. And again, if this were my image, I'd do black and white for sure and get rid of the color because the story is, the textures in all of this would be much more amazing. I'm kind of overpowered by the color, and because the red's not in the center, it feels visually off balance to me for some reason. Great capture otherwise, though.
That was by Jean Boyd. Rocky Stream.
Beautiful. Darken the overall exposure, bring out contrast a little bit more, make sure there's detail in the highlights. Crop here. Crop this section out. And maybe crop out this too. Maybe crop all of this out. Because this is the beauty of all of the, what's going on is all in the center part. And then just use the trees to frame it a little bit.
That was by Susan Kennedy. Ryan Mountain Sunset.
Beautiful. Again, if you've masked to bring things down, and I know our Blue Ridge Mountains and the Allegheny Mountains, we have that natural light that comes in here. But if, as far as that edge, if something's been done, I'd go back and fix that. I kind of almost really love from here down more than I love that. Because I'm not crazy about and this is the thing that happens when you photograph into the sun. There's no detail, of course, in the sun, and that's going to be blown out. So my eye goes there first, and then you get those little, reflections or whatever they're called from the aperture of the lens. Those little light spots. I love the light that's striking down here. Beautiful. Not crazy about the oversaturated feel to it. And it looks a little weird for this to be dark and that to be light when this is the brightest part. You see what I'm saying? Wouldn't it make more sense for all of this to be light through the sun part and that to go a little darker? Love the bottom part of the image though. Good gosh. Beautiful.
That was by Kurt Engelman. Safe for now.
Cute. So natural light photograph. I would darken the whole overall thing, bring out more contrast while keeping light in here. And this may be another issue with sharpness. I see pretty sharp here. I'm not so sure if that's sharp, and I don't know if that's shutter speed. But I'd probably, I don't like that cropping in there. Kind of would do something with that. But main thing is going to be if he's sharp or that dog is sharp, and that you can bring detail back in those highlights on that dog. If that's from a curtain or a window and there's a curtain, I would have pulled the curtain or sheer and taken the same shot.
That was by Marianne Barnhart. Seaside Sparks.
Cute. Love the interaction. Shutter speed issue again. This is tack sharp. This is not. And that's from motion. Ooh. And then all of this has been brought down too dark, but we have the lightest part here. So my eyes not actually looking at this guy, which because he's sharp in focus and he's a majority of the image. Primary subject, secondary subject, unfortunately has subject blur to it, but this area is way too bright and that's been toned down too much.
That was by Venkat Santosh. Selfie on St. Simon's.
Beautiful. Pump up the contrast a little bit, pump up the white point a little bit, maybe tone down this whole section of sky so that the lighthouse is the main focal point, and beautiful job, well done.
Karen Davis. Silhouettes above the clouds.
Oh, wow. Wow. The color kind of bothers me a little bit. And if that's natural color and you didn't punch up any saturation on it, then that's the way it was photographed. But I've got, you know, it looks like this was blown out and we tried to save and rescue that. Almost kind of feel that this would be better as a vertical through here. I don't think I need all of this around to it because these areas are starting to lose detail too. And all the yumminess in the light is all right through here. And this is where all the little humans are. I don't think I need that either because this would pull my eye away from here. But I think a vertical crop, and I wouldn't go up into the sky. I'd stay in the clouds because that gives you it gives you an unweird feeling as a human saying, wait a minute, I'm grounded from the viewpoint, but why is there clouds up there when you don't see a horizon line?
That was by Venkat Santosh. Solitary Crossing.
Oh, beautiful. If it's sharp, bring out more texture in the subject and in the blacks a little bit. And if you can, I like the detail throughout here. I don't think I would tone those down a little bit. I would make these two people pop a little bit more. If you can't do both, this one for sure. And if you took more than one picture and you have that guy walking like this, where his legs are crossed or together like that, I would go back and revisit a different exposure because that would take this over the top. And if that's the case, I think your real image is right here. Maybe the street lamps in it too. Play around with those crops a little bit, but I don't think you need all the other stuff. This is the dramatic part here because your eye goes right in, and I love the position of the subjects against each other.
That was by Heidi Nunnally. Soul in the Spotlight.
Would totally, in music photography, unless the lighting is really dramatic or really neutral. In other words, you push the button when there's not colored lights on the subjects. I would do this in black and white. If you've masked her out and to darken everything in the background, I would go back and feather your selection around her so it's not so cut out look. If you did not do that, I would bring back a little bit of detail. Probably for this particular image, I'd crop it in here, and I would clone the catch light and the whites of the eye from that eye to that eye.
That was anonymous. Still There.
Wow, powerful image. Fantastic image. I'm assuming that the background has been taken down by the mask that's around. Go back and fix that so you don't get that line around there if that's what was done. If there's more space around the whole entire image, show me more down here. Don't crop into his hands because they're a huge part of the entire story. if this isn't full frame and you have a backed up version or you have more image, definitely give me more image space all the way around. And then I would go in Lightroom and use that perspective control, which will straighten the flag, straighten the perspective of the chair that he's in. And if you could see all the hands there and even include more of these rails and fix that and have detail, a little bit more detail there, tone the highlights down in his face a little bit, that is a phenomenal image of our times. It's beautiful and emotional and would be great. Maybe even tone this down a little bit because I'm starting to get brighter here than here. You want this and this and this and that to be the story. What was the title?
Still there.
Wow. Great image.
That was anonymous also.
Phenomenal subject matter.
Street portrait.
Love it. Tone the highlights down on the face. Love the background. Love the lighting too. This needs to be toned down a little bit more because in this natural light situation, the light's really coming from here. So tone this down a little bit. Bring out some more detail in the eyes. I would even clean up a few spots, just those 3 spots, 4 spots. Tone down this. If there's more space, I would include a little bit more and tone that down a little bit. This whole image is his eyes. Is the whole entire. The background is phenomenal, but bring some more light to his eyes and control the light on his face a little bit more, and fix those few things, and you got a winner here.
That was Marta Namek. Summer in Antarctica.
Oh God, I can guess who this is, and maybe not. Tone the snow down just a smidge. I would put a presentation, because this is the kind of image that a presentation could take this over the top, like a double white gallery mat would be amazing. Just make sure that it's not brighter than this and not brighter color. Maybe go in and take a little bit of the blue out of all of the snow part. Maybe. Could be a phenomenal black and white, over the top black and white too. Phenomenal image. Right time of day, right subject matter, right camera angle, right, awesome.
That was by Carol Ennis.
Nice job.
Sunset Leaning Lighthouse of Luddington.
I don't see anything sharp in the image. The actual lighthouse nor the people appear to be sharp in this. And I'm losing all detail through here, all really dark, which you're going to get in silhouettes, right? The secret of photographing this environment is 30 minutes before you took this picture, 30 minutes after you took this picture, and look at all 3 and see which one has the best detail through here. But sharpness is got to be a thing. And unfortunately, I don't see anything sharp in that image.
That was by B.B. Luxford. Sunset Serenity.
Ooh, pretty. So I think it feels like the maker has messed around with shadows and so forth, because I don't know how you get this low contrast look in a high contrast situation. I kind of would add the darkness back in, kind of to there. I think you don't need this in here. I'd crop that out. Depending on the color, once you bring all that detail back, I would maybe visit at looking to do that in black and white too. Again, playing with those contrast levels. The backlight is amazing. Sometimes too, in these specular highlights, you can clone an area here, drag it over top, and do an opacity adjustment, and you can still keep the texture, keep that it's a specular highlight, but have detail in it too. Done that many times in competition, and they never really seem to do all that great.
That was by Susan Van Manen.
Great composition in that. Okay.
This is Telltale. What?
Sure.
Telltale.
Yeah, sure. Any questions so far? Y'all are quiet. Quiet. God, I've stormed out of many of these things with my tail in a huff. Do that anymore. Those darn judges, what do they know? I've said it all. I've actually twice judged an image from a maker, fellow friend of ours in Baltimore, who used to live in Maryland, who did amazing birds, Joe Campanelli. And it was so perfect. This was back in the film days, or early digital days. And I stupidly in my comment said, well, that can't be real. Nobody can capture every single feather perfectly across. And Joe, the most humble, sweet man in the world, and his wife looks like Stevie Nicks. They look like just the coolest hippie old couple. And he comes up to me and goes, yeah, it was real. And I'm like, I'm such an ass. And I did it twice over a period of 5 years. And I'm like, that's it. I'm never assuming that no one can get it absolutely perfect. Okay, so image. Not sure of the technique that's going on. I think the picture itself is kind of cool and interesting, but the technique kind of blows it on this for me. It kind of takes away what's so wonderful about this image. Wish this area were darker so that my attention would go here. Wish that I could see all the detail and the water drops coming off here. Don't know if this was way zoomed in and to save it, we did a technique, or if we just wanted to go in a direction of a technique. But I probably would kind of reverse that. If you can take the technique off, and if this is really sharp, I'd kind of crop in like long, skinny like this, tone all that down. Hopefully you can bring detail back in there and let this be the star of the show, toning everything else down. That would be an amazing image.
That was by Shashi Air. The Watcher.
Oh, what a great mistake, right? So totally wish the deer in front was in focus, because this would be a cool image. But as it is, there's nothing in focus here, not one single thing, unless it's a highly low resolution image. So I love the idea and concept. If it were sharp, would love to have seen a little bit more here and a little bit more of the antlers there cropped like this and bring out detail. If that were all sharp, that'd be phenomenal art piece. That'd be a great image. So if you have one of those, it's in focus. If you took more than one.
That was by B.B. Luxford.
Are you guys like me? I'd lay on the motor drive if I were to do stuff like this. I'd have 17,000 million pictures in about 2 seconds, because I know one of them's bound to be good.
This Little Light.
Beautiful. I would turn this into black and white. I would crop about right here. I would make, this is the brightest area, but I love the lighting on her face. I think you can punch up the light on her face just a little bit. I'd get rid of this line right here in the background, crop it maybe up in here. And I think that would be a really, really, really cool image. Color's blowing me out of the water, though. It's too many different colors all over the place, and a nightmare to fix all of them.
That was by Bruce Yoder. 3 Eyes.
Okay, that's cool. Black and white for sure, 100%. I'm assuming, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm assuming that this is a subject with a eagle or bird on his shoulder, or he's holding him or something. That's not part of his hat. I'm assuming that's not part of this. So tone this down. I don't know what that is, if that's another bird. Might even get rid of that. Tone all of this down, tone this down, black and white, work up detail in the face. That's crazy great image. If there's a little bit more space on the guy at the bottom, go down to where this collar connects, the red connects underneath, so it's one continuous color. But bring out the detail in the face, tone the bird down, and the highlights down the bird. Over the top, amazing, crazy, crazy great image.
That was Evstathios Spinos. 3 Trees.
Beautiful. I would use the perspective control just a smidge. And then I would pump up the white point so that the trees pop a little bit more. And starting to get a little banding here. Could be the projector, could be something else. If there's banding after you do all of that, I'd kind of see what you can do there. Kind of brighten the top part of the image or darken this part so that this area is the lightest part of the image. And I think that would be pretty amazing.
That was by Gary Kornfeld. Time to pray.
Oh my God, that's beautiful. Crop that whole branch out and do a skinny, 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 and then remove that and just have him on that. Hopefully it's sharp, bring out all kinds of detail, remove that white spot, remove that white spot, bring out all kinds of detail, work up the eyes, slam dunk. Maybe even black and white if you can pull that much texture out of it. It'll phenomenal. Keep it long and skinny.
That was by Rebecca Perry. True Love.
Ooh, cool capture. Two different things in this. Again, this is the brightest part and the strongest color, so make the faces the brightest. Tone this down a little bit, bring out more detail in the darks. I'm intrigued by the whole thing. I think black and white too. I'm not crazy about the color in all this whole overall image. The branches are interesting to me. Don't know if I like them or don't like them. They're kind of interesting. For me, the main part of the whole image is right here. And I don't know if even coming in and cropping into that wouldn't be stronger than having all of that in the background. I'd play around with that a couple different ways. Cool thing is that the capture, the moment of pushing the shutter, and you have some sort of direction of light coming from upper right, are big pluses for this image.
That was by Pat Davis. Victorian Dandy.
Oh, fantastic. Back off on the technique a little bit. It's been brought out to the point where it almost flattens it. Would want him to be separated from the background a little bit. Again, natural light, the brightest part is blowing out the details in here. Fix those, bring out the detail in his eyes, crop here so you don't have those stones in the bottom. Or if you have it full body and he's got some cool shoes or something on, flip it, go really long, include all of his body and crop out as much of the background. And then I would crop into this tree. If that's the case and you have his feet and his feet are cool, crop into here and come down. And that way your eye doesn't pull to all those other things and keeps everything darker in the background and him more the focus. He's interesting. The outfit's interesting. Make sure you can get detail in here. Could be a cool old vintage kind of feel to it too. Back off on the saturation a little bit. It's a little too strong.
That was by Eric Franks. Wait your turn.
Beautiful. Just change your contrast. The whole image looks really flat, looks underexposed. Just change your contrast, pump up the highlights a little bit and roll with it. You could even do a more bolder presentation with a wider matte or double matte around this, I think would help because of the scale of the subject matter. Cute interaction. Everything else is good. Tone those tusks down just a smidge on Mommy.
That was by Harold Lana. And this is the last one. Zermatt and Matter Valley.
A very high contrasty light situation. Good time of day because you get these little shadow lines, which are great leading lines into the image. I would do it in black and white. Make sure you have detail throughout all the highlights. Probably crop. Let me think here a minute. Probably crop into here and maybe see how the crop works over there. You may not need it. It may need to be this valley may need to be perfectly centered, or it may look better if it's off to the right-hand side. Make sure you have detail back in here. This is a good contrast. See all the contrast here in some of the other images? This landmass in the back looked a little bit more low contrast compared to more contrasty. This, I think, is always better in image competitions as a general rule because it really brings out the texture when you get that lighting and that punch. I would keep these towers in because I think they're kind of cool. And just watch if you have any banding in the sky. It may just be the projector. Probably would tone this mass down too. See how I would tone this landmass to match this landmass. And maybe tone that down a little bit so your eye around it is more dark and it's a little bit more light here. Basically, wherever you want the subject to look at, whatever your main subject is, you always want that to be in contrast. A little lighter or darker if that be the case. 9 times out of 10, you always want that to be the lightest part because your eye always goes to the point of contrast, whether it be color, lightness, darkness. Normally, 9 times out of 10, it goes to the lightest part of an image. And if you really, because this happens to me all the time, I get too close to the images that I enter an image competition because I know the story and I was there, right? A lot of the things I experience in the there aren't visually in the story, but they're a part of my experience of that scene or that moment. So sometimes, that being said, you can change and alter an image or make sure that although that wasn't my intent at first, now I can create that by selective dodging and burning. Another good idea too is always flip your image upside down, close your eyes, open them real quick, look at it. It forces your brain not to look at the details. And what it will do, whatever is the point of contrast will jump out you like you've never seen before, and then you can't unsee it. Whatever that is, make sure it's got good detail and it's where you want the viewer's attention. If not, change it, because that's the first thing everybody else is going to see. But by flipping it upside down, you disengage your logical brain and you kick in your emotional side, your sympathetic nerve system. And that allows you to see things that you can't see when it's right side up. Yeah, I would. I don't know. No, I love the towers in there. I would tone this down because it's so bright compared to this. Naturally so, the sunlight's hitting here, right? And this is all shadowy and this is all green. So I would go in and tone all of this down so that it's not the brightest part. Make this the brightest. These can be bright too, you just want to have detail in them, even if you have to go back and add them in. But I kind of like that you have this repeating shape and this repeating shape. And then I like this in here because it stops me. Once you tone all this down, these will kind of blend more into the whole scene too. The cool thing is you've got all these verticals coming this way and these verticals coming this way and edges up here. And then you have this beautiful bottom kind of complete. I'm not so sure you need this because I think here you've got a contrast between growth, green, things are living, and not. So the contrast between those, I find pretty interesting. Again, this is a kind of image too I would do in black and white because whenever you have an image where you've got a good contrast or you have different colors, what you can do in black and white, you can't do in a color image. And you 9 times out of 10, you're going to be influenced by the color more than you are the texture. And an image like this with all this texture, it's a little secret in doing really well in image competition is to know when to do those black and white conversions.
This one was by Terry Truxell. That's it.
Wow, another amazing, the body of work that you guys have and the level that what you're creating is really next level. I judge a lot of image competitions and you guys are easily 70, 80% above the average. Yes, sir. Sure. Well, let me ask you this. In human existence, we had makeup, we have clothing. Yeah. Yeah.
At what point, given all what AI does and what you can do in Lightroom, at what point is it really no longer photography and more computer science?
Here's where the rubber meets the road for me. And this is just my opinion, and you know what opinions are like, right? For me, all of these are just tools. We've used tools since the beginning of Dawn. You're wearing clothing. Women in here are wearing makeup, and they had someone style their hair. So at what point do we call natural, and where do we draw the line between, oh, that's acceptable, you have clothes on, versus, oh, you manipulated it. To me, if you tell me a story and you get me emotionally locked into an image, I don't care what tool you used because you took the picture at the right time and you created a feeling inside of me that makes me emote an emotion, good, bad, right, wrong, whatever that is. So I personally don't have a problem with that. If you have that feeling, in Virginia, we created a category called raw. You can't touch a thing. So you can't do all of those. So if you really want to do well in that category, you better make sure that you check off every single pixel within that frame. Like everything needs to be natural. And then that works. I personally don't care because since the beginning of the photographic history, we've made adjustments. Ansel Adams images were Ansel Adams images because he monkeyed with them. He changed the exposure and then altered the chemical process. So to me, that's not natural either, but my gosh, his results were amazing. So do whatever you kind of feel comfortable with. There's no right or wrong in any of this. Yeah.
And we're not going to stop progress.
No,
Cars are going to do more things. Everything's going to be, but at some point, to me, and I can't, in my opinion, it's not photography. It's computer science.
Okay, I agree with you on to this point. When it becomes more that you did to the image than the image you took, then yes, that crosses the line to me into digital manipulation, and there's a whole category and there's a whole area of judging for that. I agree with you 100%. If it becomes more the computer image than that, if it's just fixing a few things or removing a few things, you could have done that when you took the picture, you just chose not to. You could have waited 2 seconds for that whatever to fly out of the way. You could have stepped aside here and gotten the same image and wouldn't have had that in there. It's just a matter of seeing. I don't have a problem doing either way. I would just tell someone to pick a lane, enter the artist competition if you really want to take it to a new level. But I personally don't have a problem with removing things and manipulating photography as long as the capture itself holds up and is strong. As you noticed, I said in some of these images, not in focus, right? You got to have something. So there's a point at which it's got to have structural integrity of the original photograph. But I think manipulating things, I mean, back in the film days, we always dye spotted our prints, right? You printed something larger, you got a dust spot on it, you certainly wouldn't let that go, right? You'd be sitting there with the little dyes. So choose whatever you want to do. It's a matter of degree. Yeah. And I think, honestly, I believe there's places for both. I love, just like Joe Campanelli, he did that amazing bird images. It was two pink flamingos, I think, or 2 cranes, and their wings were spread out. So you saw every single feather and they were perfectly, and they were dancing in midair, mouths open like this, feet it looked like 2 humans dancing in the air. And it was totally natural, 100%. He didn't do a thing to the image. That's amazing. The chances of someone pushing the button at that time, slim to none. But in an image competition, I think it's okay. Where I would cross the line as a judge, I would say, hang on, at some point, you've blown way past the initial photograph. But to me, as a photographer, if you can capture something that makes me go, what's that? That's wow. It has impact enough for me to be interested in it. I personally don't care if you fix a few things and change it. But I think everyone should have that journey for themselves. Throughout history, we have no idea. Come on, we've seen magazine covers way back before when everything becomes electronic. Gosh only knows what's been done to a lot of images we think may be natural. Because photographers are vain. Most photographers are not going to tell you what they did to the image because that's kind of the secret sauce. I don't care. I'll tell anybody what I did to it because I hope you take your image. When you run into that situation, I hope you can do it better than I did. Yes.
Yeah, ancillary question.
Yeah.
The Olympics,
Mhm.
drones are flying all over the place, taking these photos of these guys doing downhill, doing the snowboard and so on. Do you think the photographers are doing that, following them, or do you think they have equipment that is locking onto
Both?
Yeah.
Both. And I think for me, I think it's fantastic. It's just a camera in the air. Let me ask you this. How many of you guys are manual focusing 100% of the time? Okay. Yeah, those days are way past for me. In my younger days, I would do it, but yeah. Yeah, so as far as drones and using their detection software, I'm all for it. It's just, I couldn't live without autofocus right now. I tell you what, if Canon never got rid of their lock on a human's eye or an animal's eye, I'd be hard pressed to take a sharp image.
Yeah, a lot of
at my age.
A lot of sharp video.
Yeah, I love cameras in the air. I love that because the human brain cannot comprehend things that look from there. That's why when we go into airplanes and things, we're always fascinated by looking at the ground or looking at things from a viewpoint. The human brain, without seeing that, can't comprehend what things look like even from 10 feet above. I love it. I think it's just a new angle, a way that we could do something else. I mean, it's kind of like saying, oh, hand holding versus holding a monopod 20 foot in the air. Same thing.
Saving huge amounts of money. They don't have big
Yeah.
cameras for that.
I think it's safer for I think it's a lot safer for the participants too, because they have crash protection built into them, probably way better than, maybe the same, but they may have better things than we have access to on that level too. Thank you guys all so much.
Thank
Your
you
work
very
is
much.
amazing.
Technical things.
Secretly, I wish you guys would come into Virginia. Y'all could give us a little run for our
I
money.
think where we have struggled is that same question of what?
Real quick.
Okay, and I think where we have struggled is exactly what you're saying. How much is real? How much is permissible? How much is okay to do in certain categories? But your critiques are wonderful, and we're very grateful for your.
Happy to come back anytime. Here's something I would have your board look at. I think you might want to re-look at your categories and create some that have stipulations where you can't do anything, and then other ones where you can. And then you're happy with everybody. Everybody can play in the sandbox.